What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm C.
I'm P.
Today we're going to react to Jordan Peterson's best comebacks against opponents. Ooh. This is part 1 of 3. There's 2 parts in this. You know we love Jordan Peterson over here.
And we just did the most savage moments
of
Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, so maybe we should be doing savage moments from like all of them. Maybe, you know what I mean? So yeah.
This should be like just as good.
Yeah, we'll be doing more Ben Shapiro savage moments. It's our first, I think, savage moments for
Jordan Peterson. Yeah. It should be very interesting because just like Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson has no filter and says exactly what he's thinking.
No, I think Jordan Peterson has a filter. It's just filtered through you know, I guess intellectual.
No, he doesn't have a filter, but he says what he's thinking in a nicely manner, in an intellectual manner.
He tells the truth. Yeah, in an intellectual manner.
So, like, when I say he has no filter, meaning, like, he will give you facts straight up, but he'll say it in a way without trying to offend you.
Ben Shapiro is not trying to offend people either, but he's just less...
I think Ben Shapiro has more of a I don't give a fuck attitude than Jordan Peterson does.
Yeah.
So
I think that's actually why it made Ben Shapiro famous, because of the, you know, Thug Life videos and Ben Shapiro destroys this, you know what I mean? So I guess he realized
him and Candace have that I don't give a fuck attitude. I'm just going to give it to you straight and that's it.
Okay about your feelings.
Where Jordan Peterson tries his best not to offend anybody, but still gives
But he tells the truth. He doesn't like sacrifice the truth for sounding nice, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
He tells the truth in the nicest way possible, but sometimes the truth it hurts. You know what I mean? That's the difference between them.
Exactly.
Alright, let's continue.
As always, let us know what you think about this
let's continue.
video in the comments below. Like, subscribe, ring that bell so you get notified for our upcoming videos. Remember, we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers, and we need your help to get there, so help us out. Now you can go.
He didn't do it. I think the water's too low. Let's begin.
Do you have any comments on the Nazi presence at your protest? The presence of Nazis and white supremacists assaulting people at your protest. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I don't like Nazis.
American philosopher Beyonce knows said that it has been said that racism is so American that if you challenge racism, you look like you're challenging America. We are challenging inequality. We are challenging the refusal to see me as an individual. When we overcome that, have at it, we're all on equal plane.
I think it's fine. I think it's good.
A lot is getting stirred here.
So I've got a couple of questions.
So let's your side spoke, so I'm going to go to Jordan, then to you,
Let's
Michelle.
assume for a moment that I've benefited from my white privilege. Okay, so let's assume that. That's fine.
Assumption.
That's what you would say. So let's say, here, let's get precise about this, okay?
Was that very individual of you?
Let's get precise about this, okay?
Let's get precise.
To what degree is my present level of attainment or achievement a consequence of my white privilege? And I don't mean sort of. I mean, do you mean 5%? Do you mean 15%? Do you mean 25%? Do you mean 75%? And what do you propose I do about it? How about a tax? How about a tax that's like specialized for me so that I can account for my damn privilege, so that I can stop hearing about it? Now, let's get precise about one other thing, okay? We'll get precise about one other thing.
He's really like...
Precise.
Yeah,
really like,
precise, yes. And so,
really into it.
if we can agree, and we
I'm getting annoyed at the fact that Jordan Peterson's mouth was shut the whole time that the other guy was speaking, and now that he's trying to talk, it's like, It's like, you sound like you're taking a shit, okay? That's what you sound like.
That's so immature. It's not what you do. Like,
you sound like those people that are constipated and they're trying to push it out. Do you need to go to the bathroom? Are you okay?
Haven't, that the left can go too far, which it clearly can, then how would my worthy opponents precisely define when the left that they stand for has gone too far? You didn't like equity, equality of outcome. I think that's a great marker. But if you have a better suggestion and won't sidestep the question, so let's figure out how I can dispense with my white privilege, and so that you can tell me when the left has gone too far, since they clearly can. And that's what this debate is about political correctness. It's about the left going too far. And I think it's gone too far in many ways. And I'd like to figure out exactly how and when, so the reasonable left could make its ascendance again and we could quit all this nonsense.
And I'm sure, I mean...
The point I got from that was that you're saying, you know, certain people have privilege, like white privilege, right? And yeah, we can agree that it's white privilege. I agree that everybody has some sort of privilege, right? But you say white privilege is like the most, whatever, unfair
highest
thing.
of the hierarchy.
Yeah, right. So what I'm saying is precisely tell me how much privilege I had, how much his whiteness was the cause of that privilege, and then precisely to tell him how do you wish to like, I guess, get rid of that, or how do you wish to equalize that? Yeah, right. You say like, for example, let's do a tax, right?
Tax on it.
A tax in itself will eventually lead to inequality, because how you gonna give some people money but not others?
I think that's the point. Is why he
that's
used
what I'm
that
saying.
example.
So because anything you do about this inequality, if you just give people stuff, it's gonna create more inequality. You know what I mean? If there is something like, you know, if there is something that one person can do that the other person can't, that's inequality. You fix that by making the other person be able to do something that the other person can do, right? But you don't give one person money for that, because when you start doing that, then the other person is you know, you become more privileged than the other person, because you're getting free money.
Well, I think
the tax is an example of whatever else you decide to do to give certain races, certain genders, like a leg up over others, is gonna create inequality. It doesn't have to be more money. It could be anything.
Yeah.
It's pretty much what I'm trying
I
to
think what's making him mad, which also makes a lot of people mad in the world, is that these certain types of people will sit here and argue with you about everything you're doing wrong, but aren't putting an actual plan out there on how to resolve the issue, if there even is an issue. And what he's trying to make light onto the situation is, okay, if there is even an issue, what is your plan to fix it besides sitting here and yelling at me about the issue? And that's the problem a lot of people have. They want to sit here and either point blame or yell at each other, but nobody wants to sit down and discuss on how to make it better, or what to do to make it better and solve the issue. And that's what I think he gets angry about a lot in a lot of his interviews and debates.
All right, let's continue.
I would hope that if I were a student of Dr. Peterson, that he would refer to me as she, and wouldn't have a problem with that. But at the end of the day, you know, a personal pronoun preference still is a preference for what language other people use. And at the end of the day, I don't have ultimate control over what Dr. Peterson, what the language he chooses to use, or anybody else for that matters. That's up to them.
Okay, let me find out then.
Arises,
let me find out. If she were a student of yours, what would you call her?
She.
You would. Okay. We've established.
I don't think anybody will say otherwise. Look at her. She looks like a girl.
Yeah, but that's not the issue. The issue is, if you ask me to refer to you as something, of course I will. As out of respect, I'm going to refer to you as something. But if a state or a country is demanding me to do so, that's where the issue rises.
Yeah, like really like that. Of course, no one's gonna.
Nobody's
say
gonna say anything else.
I mean?
Like if I want to be referred to something, like the Queen of England, then okay, you'll refer to me as that.
My point, she looks like a girl, so like obviously anybody. I know, like everybody will say did a good job. Everybody will say she. I wouldn't know, to be honest with you.
Right?
I wouldn't know if I saw it. I'll be like, oh, that's a girl. I wouldn't know. You know
that's
what
I'm saying.
So I think the problem arises when you look like a guy, you want to be called a girl. You look like a girl, you want to be called as a guy. You know what I mean? That's when the problem arises. But feel like that, I don't think anybody
but even so, like if I mistakenly call you a him, instead of a she, and you correct me, then you correct me and we're good. There shouldn't be any animosity. There shouldn't be any anger. There shouldn't be any
or the government trying to tell
demand.
me what I can say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Student of yours, what would you call her?
She.
You would. Okay. We've established that.
Why do you think it is that so much of what you say is so very popular with the alt-right?
It isn't. And you don't have any evidence for that at all. Any more than the evidence that alt-right people
Daily
watch this
Stormer,
show.
Neonite website,
that's the
Saviour
one
of
I'm going
Western
on.
Civilization.
Oh, well, that was all taken apart today by a number of Jewish publications, by the way, showing that, first of all, that was all satirical commentary on the part of the alt-right, directed at taking me down, for example. And there was an alt-right article yesterday published saying that I was a Jewish stooge and shill. So this is absolute nonsense, and I don't appeal primarily to the alt-right. There's no evidence for that at all. It's the proclivity of...
I never said primarily, Jordan. What I'm interested in is why you think that you get the reaction that you do from the alt-right. Looking at, the Cathy Newman documentary.
What reaction?
Interview.
There's 10 million people watched that and commented on it.
I'm talking about what I saw, and I'm curious to know what your reaction was to the glee with which the alt-right seized upon that interview.
I don't accept
Should we deal with the death threats? I mean, she had, I think, a dozen
I don't accept
death
the
threats.
concept that it was the alt-right that was doing this. There were 10 million people who commented on that video, and about 95% of them commented negatively on Cathy Newman's behavior. You think there's 10 million alt-right trolls watching that?
Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. Like you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable.
Well, I'm very glad I put you on the spot.
Well,
I'm very glad that I have exercised my freedom of speech.
You get my point. It's like you're doing what you should do, which is digging a bit to see what the hell's going on. And that is what you should do. But you're exercising your freedom of speech to certainly risk offending me. And that's fine. I think more power to you as far as I'm concerned.
So you haven't sat there and... I'm just trying to work that out. I mean...
Ha, gotcha.
You have got me. I'm trying to work that through in my head.
And this is all under the influence, you say, of postmodernism and neo-Marxism.
Yeah,
but aren't those things two separate things?
They're completely separate. And this is something I've been criticized for. Dr. Peterson doesn't understand the difference between neo-Marxism and postmodernism. It's like, I understand the difference perfectly well. It isn't me that's conflating them. It turns out that the people who push postmodern doctrines in the university almost always ally themselves with a Marxist viewpoint. And that is logically incoherent. But I would say the postmodernists really don't give a damn for logical coherence because they regard that as part of the oppressive, patriarchal, Eurocentric view of the world. The idea that there's an objective reality and all of that, and that you can deal with it with logic.
I'm really not that familiar with the difference between postmodernism and Marxism. So if you guys can explain that to us in the comments, I appreciate it.
When you talk about, feminizing men, it almost sounds derogatory. It's almost as if you're saying that to be feminine or to express any sort of femininity is actually inferior to masculinity. And I think that is a huge problem even within the language that we use. When you say, don't be such a girl, don't be such a pussy, the greatest insults that men can give each other tend to have...
Yeah, but also, don't be such a dick also exists. So I don't get her point. Don't be a dick also exists. So what's your point here? It's like they're trying to say,
or don't be a tomboy for girls.
It's you only have curse words for women. It's like for women's body parts. We have some for men's body parts too. So it evens out. I like to say a point. Jesus.
Such a girl, don't be such a pussy. The greatest insults that men can give each other tend to have feminine origins, as I said, pussy or faggot, or anything like that. And I think again that speaks to a very systematic inequality between the genders. And
you attributed the rates of mental illness among men to their inability to express, say, sentimental emotions. And I don't think there's a shred of clinical evidence to support that stance.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No.
Well, I don't think there's a shred of evidence to support that stance. The kind of violence, for example, that Lawrence is discussing is a consequence of competitive violence among young men as they move
I think there is
towards-
some evidence that men find it
Yes.
difficult to talk about things, and that
And they also
ways
find
in
it
which you
hard
can
to
help
reach
young
out.
men to
They-
talk about things.
There's no evidence that causes something else. They're saying one point. He's saying there's no evidence that causes this to happen. But they're saying, no, this does happen. Yeah, he's saying it does happen, but that doesn't cause something else to happen.
Yeah,
You
but
know, man,
the reasoning that you're stating for why this happened,
there's no
evidence to support that reasoning. That's what Jordan Peterson is saying. He's not saying that this doesn't happen at all.
Exactly.
He's saying that the evidence that you're providing for this, the reasoning that this is happening, there's no evidence.
But we're trying to make it simple because some of the shenanigans to understand.
Things, and that
And they also
ways
find
in
it
which
hard
you can
to
help
reach
young
out.
men to talk about things.
And that's the
reduces-
evidence for
Yeah.
the differential rates of mental health
And
suffering? I don't think so.
I also don't think when you're talking about things being so innate, Judith Butler would have said that, gender is a construct, that gender is a performance.
Well,
and
Judith
if you
Butler
look,
doesn't know what she's talking about in the least, so I don't accept that.
that's interesting, but
Oh my god.
Hey guys, he can say that because he's a clinical psychologist. He knows his stuff.
Yeah, he does.
You know what I mean? So he can say that.
But I just get so angry for him because he's never able to really explain himself. They don't give him a chance to. They just
And when they do, they try to twist what they said to saying something else. You know what I mean?
Be like, oh, I never said that, I meant this. No, you said this. He's now trying to rebut this, and now you're twisting the words because you don't want to sound like a dumbass when you are a dumbass. Sorry.
Let's continue.
Well, Judith Butler doesn't know what she's talking about in the least, so I don't accept that.
that's interesting, but
she's no scientist. She doesn't know the psychological literature.
I see very little of the pursuit of justice characterizing the modern university. I see a tremendous amount of the pursuit of vengeance for things that don't even deserve to have vengeance extracted for them.
So give me an example of what doesn't deserve vengeance.
How about the existence of the patriarchy?
But you don't mean now that women have not suffered injustices. In Britain, Virginia Woolf couldn't go to university.
Everyone has suffered injustices in this entire since the world has existed. Okay, what he's saying is this. What was again the patriarchy?
Yeah,
it's unfair. He's not saying no one has ever suffered this.
That's what I'm saying. What does that have to do with the patriarchy being unfair? I'm so confused. Where did women come from in this scenario?
Let's continue this.
That women have not suffered injustice. But you don't mean now that women have not suffered injustices. In Britain, Virginia Woolf couldn't go to university, or rather she couldn't get a degree. Women have been excluded in all kinds of ways from social situations.
But not in this time. Not in the modern society. Women can do whatever the fuck they want to do. And if you say they can't, that's not a problem of like society, like I guess laws, like other laws that's in place saying men and women are equal. We can do the exact same thing. I would even say it's actually against men now, the law, especially in divorce courts and child custody and alimony. It's actually against men. So other laws that are in place protect women.
And to be honest, women were always a little bit more protective throughout time because it was always women and children that needed to be protected, that are sacred.
Like
Men always got
like chivalry, like that's dead now basically.
Men always got the brutal end of the stick. It only became an issue when women wanted to start working like men, and then they had to have equal rights and equal pay when they got into the workforce. Besides the workforce, women were always a little bit higher on the scale than men, if you think about it. We've always been more protected than men have.
Protection, stance.
In every stance besides money.
Let's continue.
Women have been excluded in all kinds of ways from social situations, have they not?
Yes, but people have been excluded from
just so
social
sad.
situations in all kinds of ways. And I don't like the narrative, the social historical injustice narrative as a way of looking at the world. The way that young people now are taught about the relationships between men and women throughout history is that the fundamental narrative is that men oppressed women throughout the course of history. And then that kind of came to an end when everybody woke up in 1964.
No.
Yeah, really. That's really it.
No, listen, I don't know what it's like in Canadian universities, but that's what I call, and forgive this European reference, that's a kind of Punch and Judy way of seeing it. That is not how universities as a whole operate.
Well, that's how they operate in Canada. We had the biggest scandal in Canadian university history last year when a graduate student was hauled in front of a Maoist inquisition for daring to show a 5-minute video of me discussing issues like this on public television. The universities are in far worse shape. Maybe they're not in such bad shape in the UK as they are in North America, but they're in plenty bad shape in North America.
Forgive me, and I'm sorry you were involved, but that is not the biggest scandal. The biggest scandal will be the number, for instance, of suicides that are prevalent amongst undergraduates. The fact that one academic was hauled up, in my view, inappropriately for doing what was done is not the biggest scandal. You're inflating
It's
things.
not the biggest tragedy. The suicides are a bigger tragedy, but it was certainly the biggest scandal. Canadian universities don't make international news. You accept this oppression narrative without question. You know, 120 years ago...
I don't accept anything without question. I'm just telling you a fact.
That's not a fact.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Women were expected to stay home and take care of the kids and cook a meal. That's
Women didn't have reliable birth control until 1960. You know, don't you think that played a role? Don't you think the fact that they didn't have reliable care for
Are you
their
blaming
menstrual
women
cycles?
for not being allowed to lead countries, to lead nations? Because they
They
didn't
were
have...
allowed to lead nations. There were queens in many countries. I think you have no idea how much this oppression narrative has saturated your thinking.
And there's not a
I
second.
think you say that life has because okay, let's think about it, right? Men and women. Men are willing to deal with more shit than women are, right? We like, you know, especially all the dirty jobs, mostly men does it. What he's saying is that in modern society, life has become so easy that women are willing to do things that in the past will require more, I would say,
work,
more physical strength or more
He's also
getting
saying-
dirty. You know what I mean? So now it's so like life is so easier that women, also for women, because they've invented so many things like birth control, so many things that they've invented
And
for
new
women.
laws that came
exactly
out,
that
like-
women are able to, you know, do more things. Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
He's trying to explain that if you think about the past, right? We've all had history. In the past, women were the homebodies. They took care of the house. They took care of the children. But they had to be put in that situation because in the past, there was no birth control to stop them from having kids. So, and there was no laws out there that said that they could work and make money. So they had to stay home and take care of the house and take care of the kids while their husbands worked to provide. And that's how the structure was. As time and inventions and rights evolved in the world, women were now able to do things that they weren't able to do because of circumstance. And that's what Jordan Peterson is saying. He's saying that women, nobody's stopping women from doing what they were doing.
Right.
The only thing that's stopping women from doing what they need to do are circumstance. I wouldn't even say society, it's just circumstance. At the time, there was nobody alive to invent the birth control pill. At the time, there was nobody who wanted to stand up and start fighting for rights for jobs and stuff like that. Everybody seemed pretty happy being staying home. There was nobody to speak out yet. Then these people were born, and they were like, hey, wait a minute, we should have something to protect us if we don't want to have kids right away. Oh, hey, wait a minute, we should have equal rights as men and be able to work if we want to.
I would say it's a bit of both with the circumstances and people keeping them down. It's a bit of both. But I think mostly it was circumstances. Think about it, right? Back in the day, I'm not going to give a date. I'm not really sure. I'm not going to give a date. Most men work in coal mines. They work to, you know, build tracks for railroads. They work so. Most men work those dirty jobs and those that requires a lot of strength to do, right? You think women were lining up to do those jobs, working in coal mines, and you know, and building railroads?
It wasn't until they had to.
And like exactly, and fucking working the docks, going fishing. Women were not lining up for those jobs. Some of them, yes, of course, some of them did those jobs, but they weren't lining up to be like, let me go work in the coal mine. Let me work in whatever. But what I was saying is that as life become easier, women were like, you know what? I think we can do this now. Listen, we can. Men now are working in offices with AC with this. Yeah, we can do this now.
Well, it's also circumstance because they weren't even thinking about working. They grew up from their parents showing them the way that women had to stay home and take care of the home and the kids because of the fact there was nothing that provided anything that was a different outcome. And then when the war broke out and women were put into situations where they had to work because every single man was out there fighting. So now there's a new circumstance. Oh, we can work. Oh, we can do this. Oh, we can juggle taking care of the kids and providing because there's nobody here to help us. Now the circumstance is different.
Plus, in the past, life was way more dangerous than it is now. Like, you live in the wild, you can get attacked by animals, by other people. Like, the laws weren't as strict or as, you know, enforced as is it now. So for women to go out to work, was actually a more dangerous thing back in the day. You know what I mean? So I think we're trying to get a complicated issue and put it down into a simple, men were oppressing women, and then that's it.
That's it.
That's part of it, but that's not the only reason that, you know.
And that might be like a small slice of the pie for certain men out there that did it, and certain men that are still doing it. But that's not the whole pie.
All right, let's continue. We'll talk a bit about this.
Secular humanist organization or
This oppression narrative has saturated your thinking.
and there's not a secular humanist organization or country on the planet that has ever produced as a good thing, an intentional good thing, rapists and murderers. So,
well, that's highly debatable. That's highly debatable.
Actually,
one
it's
of the things
absolutely true because there's never been a secular humanist government on the planet.
I don't know. I think the Soviets were pretty secular.
No,
humanists.
Then, with all due apologies, you do not know the first thing about what secular humanism is. You should read the Secular Humanist Manifestos, because what happened in Russia and communist countries was an institution of a religious-like structure centered around an individual and forced atheism.
No.
None of which is consistent with humanism.
So you said Hitler was a god. Okay, I'll talk about it at the end. Okay. Oh, no, that's it.
Your background.
Oh, they did your reaction. But are you saying they treat Hitler like a god? Is that what you're saying? Like they treat like Hitler made a religion? Is that what you're trying to say?
I think Hitler was trying to become a god and trying to make a religion, but I don't think people treated
it was
him
an ideology, not a religion. It was an ideology. Like communism and Nazism is an ideology, right? Not a religion.
Oh no, because he wanted everybody to be blonde and blue-eyed.
Yeah, that's
so it was more like what you said,
that's
not a religion.
That's an ideology. You know what I mean? So I don't know what he's saying. Like that was secular.
I think
Hitler
they thought mentally he wanted to be like the ruler of all the blonde and blue-eyed. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's still not religion. That's you're a ruler.
Yeah, that's like a dictatorship based off of a certain genetic.
Exactly. So I don't think that's a religion. So I don't know what this guy's talking about. Unless you guys can think I'm wrong and you guys can inform me what a secular, thing is. I'm basically thinking like secular means that you don't actually, you don't bow to a higher power. You know what I mean? So what secularism is. So Hitler and the Nazis were secular. They didn't have any religion or any, godly structure.
I don't think religion had anything to do with that.
Exactly. Let's finish this. Almost done.
It's consistent with humanism.
Your background. It's pretty earthy. But how did you connect that with your current political perspective? You said that you became disillusioned with socialism.
I became disillusioned with ideology.
With ideology in general.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's certainly not something that's changed. I mean, I don't like ideologue.
Yeah, guys, so we have a part 2 coming out. So the part 2 is actually a long one, actually. But yeah, with the last guy's point about secular, whatever, humanism, it's like...
I don't know much about that term.
Yeah, but so, yes, the word secular in it. That means there's no religious structure, right?
Yeah.
And there's Nazism is not a religious thing, so I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, not to my knowledge. Again, I'm not the hugest history buff. He's more of a history buff than I am, so he would know a little bit more than me. But correct us if you know of any information that aligns with this guy's theory. Actual information, like factual information.
So yeah.
But yeah, Jordan Peterson, I still give him such props. Like
One thing I want to say, this guy, I think his point was like, if we all become secular humanists, that would be like probably utopia, basically. Like, that's the thing he was saying. Like, you know, we've never had a secularist, humanist, you know, culture or environment or whatever. I'm guessing he's saying that if we had that, then that would solve all the problems. Like, a religious structure is not... It's like, humans at the end of the day are going to be humans.
I think I would have liked to watch that debate.
That
seemed very interesting.
Yeah, I think he was saying that would be the best possible scenario or whatever. But humans are going to be humans. No matter what religious or ideology you're under, humans are still going to do bad things.
Uh-huh.
They're going to do bad things, they're going to do good things.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's the yin and yang concept.
Exactly, so it's like...
You can't... That's just in our structure, in our...
I think it's a little bit naive to think if your ideology had a way, like, you know, if your ideology was implemented, that it will be a success. I think it's... Because if you say it hasn't been tried, how can you be so sure it's going to be a success?
You can't,
you know what I mean?
Experimentation.
I'm saying, so why are you so sure it's going to work? If you yourself even says that we haven't had a secular humanism government or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So why are you so sure that it's going to be a success or it's going to work?
You're just hypothesizing that.
Exactly.
I said that wrong.
Hypothesis.
Yeah.
Hypothesizing, is that a word?
Yeah.
Hypothesizing?
Yeah, I think so.
I guess so.
Anyway, anywho. I still have to give Jordan Peterson props because in every single one of his videos, he is so calm and composed no matter what these people say or do.
Uh-huh.
And he has, in a lot of these videos, he has every right not to be. Because these people don't let him speak, think they know everything, but yet decide they don't need to prove any facts behind that or show any documentation that these facts are valid, and question his own degrees and studies behind it when he's showing them the facts right in front of them. So...
But yeah, guys, we're going to have a part 2 soon. Jordan Peterson, we know we love this guy in this channel. You know.
Yeah, he's great. Him, Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, they're
I think people need to listen to like other point of views. I think even if you think or whatever you think, you should all listen to other point of views. Because through him and I've listened to other people's point of views on different things.
Yeah.
I mean, and then based on that, you can make a decision on, you know.
That's how you determine your real point of view. Because to be honest, most of us are type lazy. We're not gonna really do all the research to figure things out. We'll listen to other people who did the research, listen to the debate, and determine through that which side of the coin we feel like we most lean towards. But besides that, most of us aren't really going to go and do the research ourselves. But the only way for us to obtain that knowledge without doing the research ourselves is by obtaining the information from every side of the coin, every side that somebody is speaking.
It's better to listen to a debate than listen to somebody you agree with.
An actual debate, when people are actually listening to each other, speaking back and forth. There's no one person overpowering the other or one person getting mad because they think they're right.
Because I think if you only listen to people who agree with you, you can have like a simple mindset.
Mm-hmm.
and you might agree with the other side a little bit, but since you haven't heard that point of view, you don't know it exists.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's better to look at debates than anything else. But yeah,
that's
guys.
why I said if you're not going to do your own research, the best thing you could do is listen to every single
People
side
who are
of the
knowledgeable
aspect
about the
before you
thing.
determine what you actually believe in. But
All right, guys.
as
All
always,
I gotta say.
like,
comment,
subscribe.
See you next time.
Bye bye.